I highly encourage you to evacuate.
If this goes wrong, it's not going to go a little bit wrong. It's going to go completely unsurvivably wrong.
Welcome back to CJRaceCars YouTube channel. As you can see, we're working on a new screw-blown chassis again, the No Time 28 car that we're building, 69 Camaro. But unfortunately, we will show you guys some of that stuff, but we have a massive Category 5 Hurricane coming straight toward us. So we are also preparing the shop right now for that hurricane. I don't think we've had a hurricane like that hit in a very long time, and it's really scary. So we're getting all the stuff together, and we're putting work trucks against the doors. We're putting tubes against the top of the doors, so hopefully the doors don't blow in. Hopefully everything stays safe. It's definitely really scary. The water around here on the ground is already like really wet and still flooded from the rain we've been having from the hurricane that just came through. So definitely a scary deal, and we were going to work tomorrow, but giving the guys a day off because they need a few days to get ready for this, and hopefully everyone can stay safe. If you're in Florida, stay safe. If you're near the coast, get out of it. I mean, like, we're leaving. Travis is, I think, going up north somewhere. I got a lot of guys here going somewhere. I'm taking my family, and we're going to go at least a little east, another hour, and stay in a resort. Hopefully it'll give us some time to die down, and we'll all stay safe and get to the other side of this thing. Yeah, it's got a little, it's a perfect time to put a V8 in it. When it starts smelling like it's leaking oil. All right, so this one, you'll just put that in there, and then we're gonna put a tube across the top. Better than nothing, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that, and then just put that, clamp the bar across the top so it can't come loose there. I mean, that's gonna be the best we could probably do. Hopefully it don't even need it. I let it slip. We might be putting a junkyard 5.3 in the S10 right here. Never know. We don't have enough projects going on now, so we thought we'd start another one. It's gonna be loud in here, I can promise you. Oh yeah. That door gets 150 mile an hour wind, it's gonna be loud. Hopefully it doesn't.
It's loud during a rainstorm.
Yeah. Yeah, you imagine this building in a hurricane?
Yeah, I've been inside of my building in a hurricane, and it sucks.
You can't even hear yourself thinking this building when it's raining. We had to move Leroy out of the way of this door and put this truck here, so hopefully the door don't blow in. The last thing we want to do is find out how good Leroy's new aerodynamics is, because the door blew open and the wind caught Leroy's body. So trying to protect everything in the shop. All jokes aside, it's definitely a really scary hurricane. We were going to work a half a day tomorrow, but because we still got really about 2 days till it gets here, but we're going to take off tomorrow. I want to make sure all the guys can get home, get prepared, and hopefully everyone stays safe from this, because this is by far the worst direct hit hurricane I think Tampa's had in a very long time. So definitely scary. If you're in the area, be safe, and hopefully all come out on the other side all right. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's gonna work there. We just put a, huh?
So that's a big door.
It's a bit, yeah, this door's taller than the other doors by a few feet.
10 foot, this is like a 12.
I think it's 12, yeah, 12 or 14, but. Yep, we got that. They just gotta do 2 more like that. Hopefully that'll help. I think it'll be fine, but just rather be safe than sorry. Obviously, hopefully we all got a place to come back to work and homes next week, so try to prepare the most we can, and that's about all we can do. Over the weekend, we were at FL2K and got to meet a bunch of you guys that watch the channel, which was really cool to see. It's great meeting you guys. It's great for the guys to see your comments about how you like what they do, because these guys put everything into what they do and making a really good product. So awesome to see you guys at the race. And a lot of you guys asked about merch, and we did not have merch there, but we do have a ton of merch in stock. We have our new respirator shirts, our new Lamborghini shirts, and we have retro shirts, Nova shirts, American-made shirts. We have a bunch of stuff in stock right now. And since we have a hurricane coming directly for us, we decided to do a 10% off all merch If you go to CJRaceCars.com, you'll save 10% off on any merch on the website until Friday at noon. You will probably have to give us a few days to ship once you order because we are going to be out of the shop because of the hurricane. But you will save 10% and you will help support the channel. It means a lot to us. If we were building a car that we hadn't built before, and we've built way too many 69 Camaros, so we have built these before, we would probably put the entire body up here, Cleco it all together, and make sure that our chassis fit the body before we started the chassis. But since we built a bunch of them, you can see he's got all his notes out here on rocker width and all the heights of the tubes in the back. So we'll be able to go pretty far. Basically, the only thing we won't build without the body on is the 8-pillar tubes. The funny car cage, the main hoop, the whole tail section, the dash bar, the front, we can build all that without the body. We just make sure we put the body on and get it where it goes before we do the 8-pillars to make sure they fit perfect. We want them real snug to the body. We don't want it to be hanging down real low and inside of someone looking through the side, or to where it's harder for the driver to get out, or it's in the way of the steering wheel, any of that stuff. So we want to make sure we do everything we can, put the body on, do the 8-pillars. So he's over here fitting some tubing today, and hopefully by the end of this video we'll have a main hoop, possibly some 4-link brackets, and quite a bit of stuff done. Danny gets finished up over there. He's going to jump over here with Taylor. And you guys are going to see the chassis stuff comes together pretty quick. So excited to show you guys some of the things we couldn't show you on Eagle because by the time we started recording, I think the chassis was pretty much done and we had a body sitting on it. So a lot of details we'll be able to show you on this. And like we said before, can't really say who the build's for, but when we do say who the build's for, we will also get to go to the track and watch them run and do a lot of videos of that. So that'll be pretty cool to see, basically start of the build from tube number 1 on a jig all the way up to this thing making some passes and hopefully turning on some wind lights.
I just know that here he wants them as close together as they can get.
You cut these two angles like equal on both sides of the tube, as you know, as equal as you can get them. I put a mark on the tube, kind of notch to the mark, you know, and then you know what this angle is going to be, because you can come off of whatever this is. You can find out what it is, and you notch it until you get it so it's on the line. Then you make the other one same way.
Until it's on the line.
Then you take it and notch that a little bit more, just a little bit more, till you get it to go in. I can't remember how much of a gap there is there, but there's not a lot.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, it's a 34-degree angle, roughly. So I would start notching the thing at about, you could start notching, let's say 30, you know, try 33, see what you get. And that one over there would be, if it's 6 degrees, which I think it is, you'll be like 39. You'll notch, I'll notch the 33 farther than halfway, and then while it's in the notcher, put you a mark on top, that's right on the top, and then find the center, and then notch the other one to that mark. And it'll be like this. It is round the corner. It's round the corner. But that angle, once you get it, is going to be the same as this angle.
Before we get too far on the actual fabrication of the chassis, we had some comments on our first video asking about why we set up the jig the way we set up the jig. And for us, personally, we only really fixture the rocker bar, the cross member, the center frame rails, and then you can see we have this plate back here, which has a pretty tall tower, billet tower that will, there's 3 tubes as we go back that run across the chassis that we'll use to fixture those also. The rest of the stuff we don't fixture. If you were gonna build 20 of these cars, which if we knew we were gonna build this many 69 Camaros, we probably would have built more fixtures for hoop, dash bar, a lot of other stuff. We didn't know we were gonna build that many at the time, so we didn't. This main jig fixtures we have here, the only thing that will change really for our cars is motor placement, which will move this tube, these tubes here. Our frame rails are always the same width. Sometimes our rear 4-link brackets are a little wider, depending on what you're gonna do with it. But mainly we always stick with a 16-inch 4-link center in the back. Rocker width changes. could be a little narrower than this. Some cars, like Justin's Lexus, could even be wider, so 4 inches wider than this. So those are the main things we changed. The reason we set this height here, this particular chassis right now from the bottom of the chassis to the table is 4 inches. We like to run our bodies 1 inch below the chassis. So for this particular car at ride height with the strut cup adjusted all the way in, it'll have a 3-inch rocker ride height and the chassis will be at 4 inches. We also set the motor at the lowest point right here so that we can jack the front up with our adjustable strut cups and raise the motor. If we wanted to get more weight transfer to the back, some other stuff we'll talk about as we go. But that's why this is set at the height it's at. Some of the cars that are gonna be big tire and small tire or just big tire, we may go to 5 inches or depending on the body, whatever we can get inside a quarter panel, we may move that around. But most pro mods or small tire cars, this is where we set this, 4 inches, 3-inch rocker height. You can legally go 2-inch rocker height and in front of the front spindle has to be 3 inches, but this is where we like to set them. And just kind of a basic reason why we do what we do. We have a lot of other fixtures that will help us figure out our track width, which is a really big thing. Figuring out the track width. You don't want to suck the front wheels way in because if you do, they don't look good. And if you push the wheel too far out, you want it out as far as you can, but you want to be able to turn full lock without hitting the fenders. So it's something that's kind of difficult without really being able to replicate the steering. So we have a jig that we can stick our strut in, the kingpin of our strut in at the degrees we want it lean back, and we can actually put the wheel on and turn it and make sure it doesn't hit. So we'll show you that when we get there. That's probably still gonna be a week or two away, but that's basically what our jig is for. Just basic stuff, nothing crazy. Like I said, if you're gonna build a bunch of these, you could do a lot more technical stuff and really mount most everything off of the jig, but we don't do that. We use it for just the basic bars. That way we can do it with all the cars we build. You can see Taylor's working on the X back here, which if you saw our little fancy CAD design tape structure we made the other day to figure out where this tube goes, you can see he's got that. So when he's fitting this tube, some people fit it, right to the cross member or right to the frame rail here. We like to fit them into the corner. Gives it more strength, especially in the back here where your 4-link is pushing. We've mentioned that before. We really want a lot of strength right here in this area. So we notch it into the corner there. We get this side as close to center as we can. When you put both tubes in, it's kind of hard to get them to touch. So there is a little gap in between them here. We also fit them corner to corner here, same back here, center to center. When you're making this notch here, which I kind of just showed up to this job, so I'm not sure what Taylor's got, but if this frame rail was 90 to this cross member, you would have, if you had a 30-degree notch on your cross member, you'd have a 60-degree notch on the other one. But because this comes in at a 7-degree angle here, it's pretty easy to figure out your notch. If you can figure out the first notch, this notch would be the same as your cross member notch, just flip the other way. And let's say this is 35. Instead of 55, you would subtract 7 because this is less. So you'd have 48. Imagine you have a 90.
Or if I did, I missed it.
Imagine you have a 90.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And you were just fitting it straight in the corner at 45.
Yeah.
You have 45 degree and a 45 degree.
Right.
So now you lean the frame rail out. You still got your 45 here.
Yeah.
But now instead of 45 here, you got 38. So basically, whatever your first notch is, what you can figure out. What I would do is, this is the way I've done them in the past.
How do you like it?
You can do it however. So you can figure out, you got your center here, you know you got 1.25 inch tube. So if you mark the over like 1.25 inches, because you're gonna go, right, no, not 1.25 inches. If you came past here like 5/8,
Okay.
and you got this tube just to fit here and here, because that's the same notch, and where it butted up against that, and you still had 5/8 of an inch to go that way, then you can just fit that later, is what I would do. But if you figure out this notch, right?
I like that. Okay.
And then take 90, subtract this notch,
Yeah.
and then subtract 7 degrees. And that would fit you right in there. Kind of makes sense?
I got you.
So, if you figure out the angles, like it'll kind of mess with you because depending on which side of 90 you go, it can get a little confusing whether it's more or less. That's the way I would do it. You can do it, there's a million ways of doing this. Danny, I usually wing stuff a lot more than I probably should. That's just how I've always done it. Danny is extremely particular on everything has to make sense number-wise, which is not a bad thing. He usually has a lot less mistakes than I probably do. But if mine works, it's usually quicker. So it's kind of just depends on whatever works better for the person. And like we said, Taylor's starting to get in a groove of fitness stuff. So this is a good place to learn. This floor structure is not too terrible. Everything's pretty easily accessible, really square. You're not trying to start learning with fitting stuff in a roof or in a crammed up car with an interior or something. So this is a good place to start. And he's doing really good. He's got these tubes up here, and see how he does with his X.
I'm trying to get it to at least hit
Right.
this corner so then I can,
Move both same time.
yeah, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah. All right. You can see we got some more tubes in. Taylor got the X in, and he's working on that diagonal there. I'm going to do this diagonal on this side, and then be putting the main hoop on. So that'll be good. Once we get the main hoop on and the seat bar in, full-length brackets, basically Taylor or Danny will go that way, and the other one will go this way. Right now, it's kind of hard to have two people in this small area here. Not really necessary. So we'll probably get the main hoop on today-ish, and then hopefully get the full-length brackets in. I think they should be here today. Add those, and then start on the whole back section. Something I wanted to show you guys on the seat bar here. We just started doing it actually on Cletus's car. We notched that seat bar to the very bottom of the frame rail. A few reasons for that. Instead of it being notched to the center, it lowers it a little bit, like a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 or whatever it is. We can get the seat down a little bit lower, and also when we do our titanium, which is what we do under the driver, we split it there, so it ends up being two pieces, and it's kind of a pain to drop the tabs down and that thing's floating in the middle. So that definitely helps from going from the seat pan to the front piece of sheet metal. So we started dropping those down a little bit. Seems to help, kind of like it. I think that's about it. The floor structure will be pretty close by the end of the day, and maybe the main hoop. Danny will be over here in a little bit. He is finishing up some stuff on the RVW car for Justin Wren. We got to change a quick connect out like we talked about, I think, in the last video, and then that thing's leaving today, and he'll be over here doing this until we get Eagle back probably the end of next week. So we have about a week till Eagle will be back, and then it'll probably be all hands on deck on Eagle and Leroy, trying to get both of them done for World Cup Finals. We were not able to get Leroy done before FL2K. The body was just, it's a lot of work to make it work correctly, and figuring out hinges that clear the chassis and a bunch of other stuff you guys will see when we drop that video. We'll do one complete build video on it, and you'll see some of the struggles some of the struggles we ran across while doing it. Everything's gonna work fine, just something we've never done, so a little different, and getting it worked out. But what do you think, Taylor?
Be all right.
Gonna be all right?
Yeah, 4 tubes for the floor structure, minus what's underneath the seat.
Yep.
And then floor structure will pretty much be done. I
Sweet.
think 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4.
Yeah, that'll be it. These front tubes here are dictated by engine location, which we'll talk about a little bit more when we do them. The seat bars we won't do until we're a little farther along. We actually go to mount the seat. We'll set the seat down in there as low as we can, and then we'll basically make those tubes fit the bottom of the seat where the driver is happy with the lean back in the seat. And this will start to come together. A lot of people think when the chassis is close to done that the car is close to done, and unfortunately that is just not correct. The chassis is probably maybe a quarter of the work. There's a lot more work once the chassis is done with tabs, brackets, fire lines, brake lines, mounting the body, windows. There's a million things, and you guys will get to see all of them. But the chassis will probably only take roughly a month to do, and the other stuff will take the rest of the time. So it'll be all right. Taylor said he'll stay till it's done. He won't go home. Got him a sleeping bag. If Jamie's watching, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I didn't say that. But, all right, I think that's it for right now. We got our Marylet 4-link brackets in the mail just now, and Danny's over here ready to go for them, so we're gonna get these things out and see what we got. I think we've been using these specific brackets on pretty much every car for how long, Danny? Probably since we started using them, that's the only thing we've ever used.
We've only not used them one time.
Yeah, so this is the bracket that we use on everything. Anyone looking for these brackets, we can get them for you. Marty builds really nice stuff. If you've watched our other videos, you've seen we use his rear end housings in Eagle. We've used his rear end housings in a bunch of other builds. And we use his 4-link brackets on everything. So these 4-link brackets are really stout, work really well, and they're designed really well also. So this is what we use. And it gets plates on the side, but we don't have the plates yet. We just have the bases, and that's really all we need to continue fabricating are the bases. So what Danny will do is he'll take both these plates and he'll set his 16-inch centers with some all thread and double nut them so they stay perfect. And they'll go directly in line with this lower frame rail, which we had talked about. And he'll level the front of this and make sure everything's dead level, and we'll get those tacked in. The reason we couldn't move to the back of the chassis without these is this seat bar that ties into everything goes here. This loop goes here, and then pretty much everything goes either off that loop or off this lower cross member here. So you can see these are super stout. You can use like a 1/4-inch plate 4-link bracket, but in my opinion, these are way to go. You do not want this area to move. You want this area to be really stout, so when you make adjustments, it doesn't move. So we'll get this all jigged up, put together. Daniel will get these tacked in, and then we'll start moving to the back. This is how we get our 4-link bracket center to center measurement. We do 16, which is pretty much the narrowest you would want to do any 4-link stuff. After that, any narrower, it gets hard to make the brackets that narrow on the housing side of things. Even 16 is kind of tight on some of the housings with like an 11-inch center and stuff. So that's actually the housing there. It's a strange modular housing going in this car, and it has 16-inch centers. And we'll show you here in a second, but you can see if you were to go any narrow, it'd kind of get into the center of that deal. So we go 16. Some of the cars we go even wider. If you were going to have an absolute specific small tire car and you were never going to run anything else, and you knew you were never going to run anything, and you didn't care about the resales value because it was only going to be a small tire, not a big tire, you could go even wider, 20, 25. You could do whatever. The wider really is better because you can build the back of the chassis a little wider, which is stiffer. The bracing and everything's a lot better, but we try to go 16 or 17. That way, if someone wanted to run a big tire, they can modify the quarters or whatever. The tubs are high enough. The tubs are already big enough. So the only thing you would have to really do is modify the quarter panels. That's why we go 16. So all of our stuff is set up for either 16 or 17. And this is how we do it. Just 2 pieces of all thread. We'll keep that thing right on 16, and then we'll basically just slide it up onto that cross member there. And we'll show you in a second how we do that and get all tacked up perfectly level. Again, this is super critical that these are exactly the same. Using our 16-inch centers and the same brackets all the time has let us standardize some stuff. So our wishbones are now all the same. They're 11-inch centers where we mount to the chassis, and the length is all the same. We use the same length 4-link bars, give or take. The only way they would vary is the brackets on the rear end housing if they change a little bit. But our rear cross member to center of axle stays the same. The 4-link brackets in the front stay the same. So the only thing that could change the length of the 4-link bars is the brackets on the rear end housing, which most are pretty close. So using the same centers on everything has let us kind of put 4-link bars and wishbones on the shelf. That way when we're building stuff like this, we can just kind of put it together, and it's not a guessing game. It's not all custom.
Yeah, that's pretty close, I'd say. 90. I got a 120 on the amps.
I see that.
I wanted to burn into this thing.
Worked good.
Yeah, that was a guesstimation on about what I would have done.
All right, that's pretty much going to do it for this video. Hopefully, we'll be back to work in 3 or 4 days, and everyone will be safe, and we'll have some more content. It's kind of up in the air right now. We're supposed to be going to pick up Eagle on Friday. I think that's still the plan, as long as we have a place to come back to, and trailer's good and everything else is good. So Thanks everyone that's been watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.